Hey everyone, what's up? It's Darren, aka the Dude, for another deck tech video of Zozu, he who punishes all. He doesn't punish just one person, he punishes everybody pretty evenly. He comes in, he applies for the job, basically just to fuck shit up. He's here to fuck shit up. This deck is basically mono red chaos, that's kind of my thing with it. Chaos with a little bit of oomph to get you the win. Now, note, this is a for fun deck, so there's a lot of things I coulda, shoulda, probably woulda put in, but I chose not to in lieu of having a little more of a for fun deck, less competitive, so that is a major point to this. It is not a competitive deck. You know, I want to win, but you know, there's a lot of kind of crappy cards in here, so. But surprisingly, it does very well in most pods, so even one-on-one, it doesn't do bad one-on-one. As long as I get Zozu out early or something comparable out early, I mean, I'm not sitting in a bad place. He's very fun, he's very unassuming. My first iteration of this, I had Perforos as the general, and Perforos draws a shit ton of hate. So unless you just want to get your ass stomped within the first few turns, don't run Perforos. If you're going to run Perforos, it's not a chaos deck, it's a Perforos deck with a few chaos cards in it. You know, would Perforos have been a little more of a higher winning general? You know, he kills people faster, a hell of a lot faster than Zozu does. But Zozu doesn't put a target on your face. That's kind of why I like him. People are like, oh, that's kind of stupid. Doing 2 damage every time a land comes into play. Well, that's not that great. I mean, he's just a 2/2 for 3 mana. I guess that's not so bad. You know, they say whatever, but they don't just gun for you because they don't see it as a threat. Until he's done about 10 damage to everybody, and it's starting to get to the point where, okay, this is, I'm done with this. So, anyways, Zozu the Punisher, you play a land, it could be a fetch land, crack it, boom. If it just comes into play, 2 damage. Also, a funny story, I'm running Solemn Simulacrum in here, so a lot of times that is a not so great card to have in hand, but you know, whatevs, it's fun. It's Commander, who cares, whatevs. Zozu. So for my mana dorks, I have Iron Mirror and Plague Mirror. Disregard the infect. It's a mana dork. I make sure I put that out there. People see turn 2, I'm dropping an infect creature. I'm like, okay, just throwing this out there, just saying, I don't have any means to kill you with this. Torch Fiend, little good artifact destruction on a stick. Felden of the Third Path. I do run a decent amount of wonky board wipes that deal damage to everything and everyone. So when things are in the graveyard, Felden becomes a very valuable card. A little bit of graveyard recursion. Goblin Matron. Now I do run Kiki-Jiki in here. Again, Kiki-Jiki would have turned this, if I had him as the general versus Zozu, would have turned this into a completely different deck, completely different means and goals, and completely different everything. But Kiki-Jiki's a fun card just to put in the 99. He's definitely got some power to him, faux show. What I'll tutor for Kiki-Jiki and just sit on it. If I think the coast is clear, I'll play him, but usually I just sit on Kiki-Jiki for later because people see, well, they know I tutored for Kiki-Jiki and they're like, oh, yep, fuck that sauce, I'm gonna wax that guy when he comes right out. So I usually wait, slow play the Kinky-Jinky. Kinky-Jinky, everyone. Magus of the Moon recently has gone up in price, which is pretty baller because I have one. So, just saying, Magus of the Moon is very fun. I wish I had Blood Moon. I'd run Blood Moon in here as well, but I don't. So Magus of the Moon's good enough. Scab Clan Berserker. He's like a little mini Kiki-Jiki. That's pretty much what I have him in here for. I mean, he's not super powerful. Again, this is a very for fun deck. It's not intended to be super competitive, so I do have some shitty choices for cards in here. That being said, he's a very fun shitty choice. Dualcaster Mage. A lot of times I'll snag somebody's late game instants and sorceries, like maybe like a bribery or something. I don't know, I mean, you can do what you want with it, and also he's a very good Kiki Jiki target himself. Even if it's like a Kodama Reach, hey, I'll take that, fuck yeah. Give me some options, you know, he gives you options. Fanatic Amogus, another good Kiki Jiki target, even with, you know, just casting him, you know, Zozu's out, let me get Zozu here. Zozu's out, so that's 2 red in the mana symbols, 3 red mana symbols, not counting, you know, if you have anything else. I've played him before where I had frickin' Gratuitous Violence out, and that right there, that's 4 red mana symbols, not counting Zozu, 5/6, double damage, 12. So it's a very fun card, a very underrated common from a very shitty block. My opinion, don't care what you think, my opinion, so just saying, shitty block. Solemn Simulacrum, a little counterproductive with Zozu, but you know what? He's good. I mean, this is a color scheme, or a piece of the color pie that really doesn't have a lot of acceleration and not necessarily super value cards like blue and green and black have, things like that. So Solemn kind of has his own little nook in this deck, especially with Kiki Jiki. Krenko Mob Boss. I do run a few goblins in here, so he does put in some work here and there. I also run Perforos in the 99, so he puts out some damage. Speak of the Devil, Perforos. This almost seems like a little interaction here, almost like it's intentional. Well, let me tell you, that's because it fucking is. Urbrask the Hidden. Just a good red creature. I mean, he's a nice 5 for 4, or 4 for 5. Bleh. Gives all your shit haste, which is good, and slows down your opponents, and that actually does manipulate the battlefield in your favor big time. I mean, this is a deck where I don't have a lot of like big creatures. I mean, my general is, you know, 2/2 that really doesn't do anything but piss everybody off. So, you know, sometimes people come your way, so that kind of slows them down a little bit, which is good. Siege Gang Commander, another good Goblin Matron target. Also works good with Perforos. Hoarding Dragon. Now here's another thing. With my build, I thought very heavily on going a little more of a dragon sub-theme, because that'll give me access to more powerful creatures, and I'll be able to wreck people, you know, with my creature base alone, because dragons, a lot of the dragons, especially red, that's all your powerful dragons, like Balefire Dragon, you know, Moonveil Dragon, or a Hellkite Charger, you know, all the really good ones, freaking in red. This is one of my favorites because it tutors up an artifact when it dies. It's a good mid-rangey creature, and you're damned if you leave it, damned if you kill it. I mean, it's just a good creature. Again, a great Kiki Jiki target. Mindclaw Shaman. Another fun red creature that I like running him in Maelstrom Wanderer, and thought I'd give him a try here. Being able to pluck an instant or sorcery from an opponent's hand is super fun. You just gotta make sure you pick the right opponent, or else it's gonna be a dud. Kozilek's Channeler, he's basically in here because of his cost and power, so he's a decent sized creature, nice mid-rangey creature. Problem I had with this is I've got a lot of little guys, like, you know, 3 drops that are 2/2s or 1/1s or 2 mana 1/1s. A lot of wimpy creatures that just don't stack up, you know, in the commander setting with other people's creatures, because they got, you know, 4/4s and 6/6s. Also, mana dorks, I didn't have a lot. I can run a lot of mana rocks, but that doesn't give me a board presence. So I felt that Kozilek's Channeler filled that void, and he actually does quite some work. I mean, he's a big enough creature to get in there and deal damage when I need him to, and he also adds 2 colorless mana pools, so he does some work. He fits a lot of roles. Kinky Jinky, Mirror Breaker. Everybody knows this guy. He's public enemy #1 in a lot of red decks, so he's there, he's real, get over it. Heartless Hidetsugu! The original shitty block, the Kamigawa block, 110 out of 100 for Flava. Alright, Flava Flav, this was the A1 of flavor. A1, my favorite sauce. Favorite condiment, A1. So, he is the A1 of this block. Everything else is pretty much crap. But anyways, he's very fun. I rarely ever actually use his ability, but people pretty much instantly waste a removal spell on him. So if nothing else, he goads out some hate. If he sticks, he's gonna hurt a lot, which means, you know, you crimping down the amount of life totals makes Zozu the Punisher that much more threatening when everybody's at half life right off the bat. Worm Coil Engine. I need a means to gain some life back. I do have a few sources of life gain. They're all very important. They allow me to stay in just a little bit longer than my opponents. That's all I need, is that little bit of squeak room. Like I said, this is a very for fun deck, but it's also a deck that requires people to think, okay? You need to think. Think, alright? Let's write it out here. Think. You need to be a smart player. You need to think. You can't just, you know, wing shit out there and know that this is a better quality card, you know, whether it be card advantage or just a value creature, than your opponents, because a lot of this stuff is junk. I mean, it just doesn't work that well. So things like this are extremely crucial on when you play it, how you play it, just like Kiki Jiki. Hang on to it until you know you can get value out of it. That's how you squeak out them wins. You gotta have some foresight and think. Use your head. Duplicate, it's pretty much just a removal piece on a stick. Molten Primordial, a little bit of a theft mechanic for everybody. He's a super fun creature. I love the red Primordial. He's pretty beast. I wish more people ran him. He's very underrated. Steal one creature from each of your opponents. Tyrant of Discord. This is also a fun choice I got from my friend Nick's Kiki Jiki deck that was done earlier on in my YouTube life. So check out that video, his Kiki Jiki deck tech video. Basically, no matter what, you're always going to hit a land, but hopefully if you choose an opponent who has a lot of permanents in play, non-land permanents, chances are you might get 3 total permanents, like 2 non-lands and a land. So either way, you're going to get a lot of destruction on him, and it's all random, so that kind of adds to the fun of the game. It's chaos. Chaos. Dragon Mage. Dragon Mage is fun because he wheels people's hands. This allows you to play a little bit of a political game, because some people want that. Some people want the combat damage to go through so they can reload their hand. Whether they get a shitty hand or no hand, they want that card draw. Some people want it. I was running a pod with a Nekusar deck who was like hell bent on letting him go through just so he can, you know, destroy people with the Nekusar damage. So it was kind of fun. So again, he's a fun creature to play. Decent size, flying. I mean, he'll get some damage in. Balefire Dragon, one of my new favorite cards. Like I love running this guy. He's a big thing. He's a threat. He'll kill people just with his damage and cost. You know, 7 mana 6/6 flyer is good, and an ability that pretty much wipes that player's field. That puts you in a very good seat. It basically puts you in the driver's seat. Driver's seat for ownage. Myr Battlesphere. This is kind of more of a Perforos thing than anything. I mean, the X damage to the defending player, that actually has won me games before. And I've also won one game in particular, where just having the bodies out, the 4/1/1s where I can spread the damage, that also allowed me to clinch a victory. That was a very close game. Zozu is ticking people down in life every time they play a land, and he was able to squeak in with just enough, you know, bodies to deal the finishing blow. So it was a pretty fun, decisive victory. Like I said, you got to have the foresight to see it and think into it. This isn't just an autopilot deck, kind of like Maelstrom Wanderer is very autopilot-y sometimes. You just want to ramp into Wanderer and let her rip, you know. Alright, let me get my shit together here. Alright, Mana Vault. Going into our Mana Rocks. Mana Vault. Soul Ring. Ruby Medallion, because most of our stuff is red. Worn Power Stone. I'm a very big fan of this, even though it comes into play tapped. It allows you to have 6 mana turn 4. Hedron Archive. I have it in here mostly for the draw ability, the second ability. Caged Sun, because we have a lot of red sources, because we're mono red. Skull Clamp, we have a lot of little things, like the Myr Battlesphere tokens. He Puts in some serious work. Howling Mine. Howling Mine, I put a couple effects like Howling Mine in here because it's chaos. I want to fuck the game up. That's what Zozu does. He punishes people. Sometimes he's generous, but mostly he's punishful-ish. But Howling Mine is something that a lot of people like, but they don't realize it helps everybody, even their opponents. Like they just don't register. And they register, oh cool, I'm getting an extra card every turn. That's going to be great. Well, so is each of your opponents. They just don't register that threat. And that threat is very real. It speeds the game up. Same with Temple Bell. Getting an extra card, and I can dictate when I do this, so that allows me more of the benefit. I can dictate when everybody draws that card. Horn of Greed. This is a fantastic card with Kiki Jiki because it encourages people to play lands. Play a land, draw a card. 2 damage is worth drawing an extra card, right? Right? You know what I mean? Yeah, there you go. Play a land, take some damage. Font of Mythos. Now, this is one of those cards that sometimes it just like force feeds you cards. Whether you want them or not, it's like whether you go from drinking a cup of water to maybe drinking a gallon of water a day to drinking maybe 4 gallons of water a day, and it's not you drinking, you're just drowning because you're in a lake and you're sinking. It's like, you know, there's a point where all this card draw becomes redundant and hurtful. And Font of Mythos is one of those cards that makes it more hurtful, because a lot of times you're discarding because you have too much shit. It's great to draw those extra cards, but you just got too much shit. Vandal Blast. Now my removal is also, again, it's a for fun deck, so I don't have a lot of cards that most people would put in here because they're just good cards. Chaos Warp, I'll write it over here. Chaos Warp is one I actually sold recently. Sorry. Warp. I don't have a Chaos Warp, so it would be in here. I would probably put it in Vandal Blast's spot. So Vandal Blast is fun because it's another very underrated commander card. Everybody runs artifacts to some extent, and this hits all that aren't yours. So basically it just pisses everybody off. But it's for fun, you know, it's for fun. Shattering Pulse, a very good commander staple artifact destruction, especially for red. If you don't have access to artifact destruction and you have access to red, this is a super awesome value card. 5 mana, I know it's kind of steep, but late game you can just boom, 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 pulse that out and shatter some shit. Earthquake. Now we're going to get into my board wipe section. Earthquake is awesome because it deals damage to each player. Yeah, it doesn't hit quite all the creatures in play. It's going to hit most, or some, but the real thing is dealing damage to each player. X mana, deal damage. That's a variable spell that hits the players. So that pretty much closes out a game for me, essentially. Same with Molten Disaster. Now this one has split second if you kick it. You always want to kick it. Just like the Beastie Boys. Kick it, da, 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 da. Yeah, kick it. Always kick it. Kick that shit, because that means it happens. People just gotta live with it. Deals damage to each player. Wildfire. Wildfire and Destructive Force I put in here basically to throw people off with the land destruction. That forces you, because people like to think that, oh, you know, Zozu's out, I don't want to take the damage, I can run off of, you know, 5 lands, no big deal. Well, not after I Wildfire or Destructive Force. I just frickin' shit on the entire board state and destroy everybody's land. So if you want to start playing stuff, which you're going to want to play stuff, you're going to need to play lands. So even though it might kill Zozu, I can recast him for 5. Maybe I'll hang on to this and ramp into this first and then cast Zozu. That way I can guarantee that little bit of value. People play creatures early on, boom, get rid of them. People play their lands early on, boom, get rid of them. All I need to do is get Zozu out and just let him sit there, and he'll tick the rest. I actually put somebody in a lock with Destructive Force one game. He played, I don't know, like 6 lands or 7 lands. I think he played 7 lands, and I had a ton out. I was just playing lands freely. I don't care about the Zozu damage, whatevs. It hits me just like everybody else. I put him in a lock with Destructive Force and Blood Clock, and he was at about 2 life. So he had to always return a land, or else he'd take the damage every upkeep. so it was actually quite funny. Blasphemous Act deals damage to each creature, and it's basically usually always like a 3 or 4 mana spell, if not less. I mean, this is a super awesome card. Another very underrated card. Now we're getting into my chaosy stuff. Ankh of Mishra is basically a 2 mana Zozu the Punisher. Pure and simple. Anyone who puts a new land into play, 2 damage to them. Sulfuric Vortex. The really painful thing about this is the fact that nobody can gain life. This means you're gonna die eventually. If you don't get rid of this, you're gonna die. It's just a matter of time. And people don't see that 2 damage as a threat, so they leave it. And they often don't target me because that 2 damage, it's just 2 damage. We start with 40 in EDH, so it's not a big deal. Sulfuric Vortex puts the clamp on people with that no life gain though. It's serious. Isolation Cell, it punishes people. It punishes people for playing spells. Unless they want to pay out of it. It's kind of like the church in the old days where you had to pay to wash away your sins or whatnot. It's kind of what Isolation Cell is. Take you to jail, bro. Blood Clock. Blood Clock's what I was talking about. Every upkeep, they return a permanent. At that point, it was actually kind of funny. I was returning a Soul Ring and then recasting it. So I was in a good spot either way at that game. And I just kept playing lands and eventually got Zozu out and he was just dead either way. But Blood Clock is a very fun card that just does things. And it's not a big thing, but after a while it gets really annoying. So it's for fun. Bedlam. Bedlam is super awesome because this means it's a free-for-all. Don't hold your creatures back to block because nobody can block. Throw haymakers. That's what this card does. It encourages people to just swing for the fences. Impulsive Maneuvers. Super fun card. Super fun card. It's either double or nothing. Double. Oops. I can't spell. I'm really tired. Double or nothing. Yeah, I'm half retarded today. Worked out like... I went to 2 different gyms and worked out today hardcore and I am just beat, so I'll tell you guys a story about that for another day, but fun times. So, double or nothing. Whenever a creature attacks, works for everybody evenly. It's either you flip the coin or flip something. Usually you just roll an evens or odds dice, die, whatever. And if you win, it's double. If you lose, it's nothing. Double or nothing. Possibility Storm. Possibility Storm throws a wrench in everybody's game. And part of the design flaw in this is that I only have 1 instant, and that's Shattering Pulse. Now, like I said, I would replace the Vandal Blast with Chaos Warp. That'll give me two instants, so that way I can Possibility Storm. Other than that, it's pretty much, you know, I'm in the same boat as everybody else. I just got to kind of play through the pain. Possibility Storm just wrenches that. Like, if you have a game plan, not no more, because basically you're only going to be casting your general reliably without the possibility of it being fucked up. But on the flip side, the possibilities are endless. Who knows what you can get with Possibility Storm? The possibilities are endless. Right the Raging Storm. This is fun because everybody gets a 5/1 that, you know, you either use it or lose it, and it can't hit you. That encourages people to just hit everybody else. Why not, you know? Storm Cauldron, another super fun card with Zozu the Punisher. It encourages people to play lands. You get an additional land drop every turn. But whenever you tap a land for mana, it gets returned to your hand. So you gotta be very choosy about what you play, because if you start just casting shit, you're not gonna have any lands out, and you're gonna be taking a lot of Zozu damage. So it's a very fun card, a very tricky card for people to play with when Zozu's out. I like it. I thought it was fun. Risky Move. You know, as part of the chaos theme of this deck, Risky Move is just that. It's a big risk. Risks are fun, right? That's part of gambling. It looks like they're gambling on some pit fights here. It's all fun and games. You gotta take some risks in life. Steal somebody's creature, but at the beginning of each player's upkeep, that player gains control of Risky Move. Whenever you gain control risky move from another player, choose a creature you control and an opponent. Flip a coin. If you lose the flip, that player gains control of that creature. This thing is so fun. So much fun in multiplayer. People are just like, what? Like, everybody shuffles around the best creature. Super fun. Scrambleverse. I damn near won a game off of a Scrambleverse. It was a pod where I was just getting hammered. I didn't get shit out. You know, all I was getting was land flooded. I wasn't getting anything out. I was just getting my ass kicked. And, you know, one of the other players was just hammering things out. Just boom, boom, casting stuff, board presence, creatures, enchantments, artifacts, boom, just rifling stuff out. So I eventually pulled this and just decided to wait for this. Because that means I have more to gain from the randomness. You know, it's random, but I have more to gain and less to lose because I have less permanents out. Super fun. I gained over half of his shit because it eventually came down to me and him, and I did this at the last second, and boom, like I took over half his shit and he got like nothing. Super, super funny. I still lost that pod, but it was really funny. It was close. It was a close ass game. Furnace of Wrath. I count this as a chaosy card because it's double damage for everybody and everything. Zozu deals double damage, your stuff deals double damage. If you want to lightning bolt me, deals double damage. You know, everything's double. Gratuitous violence. It is what it says it is. It's a gratuitous amount of violence, but just for your stuff. So that's kind of super fun. Tempt with Vengeance. Everybody is tempted to get revenge on Zozu. Take the tempt. I encourage it because hopefully I have Perforos out and it just kills everybody. Most of the time people don't take the tempt, but it's still pretty fun. Either way, I usually try to hang on to it if I can get Perforos out. If not, I just throw the tempt out there for like 5 or 6 and hope that everybody tempts so we can all have a bunch of 1/1s to hit each other with. Insurrection. Again, this is a deck where you have to think. Not think like me, because I obviously can't think right now. Dodable or nothing, yeah. I'm riskily stupid. But Insurrection, I did an alpha strike fucking move like 10 turns out. Like I pulled this card around turn 5 and we were playing this just long game. It was me and a Loro deck and Karlov, the new black-white general. It's also another life gain build. Dude, like I strategically held on to this card and waited and calculated until everybody had a certain damage total of creatures out, you know, counting Karlov getting big, counting the Oloro player playing things like Consecrated Sphinx. He played, what else? He played Sphinx of Uthun, you know, some decently sized flyers. I played a few things, and I played Gratuitous Violence, and then shortly after I Insurrection, killed them both. It was excellent. Alpha strike out of nowhere. We're not expecting it. Super fun. Lightning Greaves, a little bit of protection for the old Zozu. Zoozoo! Basilisk Collar. Basilisk Collar is excellent with Zozu. He's excellent with a lot of things. Gives stuff lifelink and death touch. So that way when Zoziel deals damage based on, you know, people playing lands, I gain some life. So it keeps me above water, not drowning in my own land damage. Logsdon and Warhammer, another lifelink mechanic. Like I said, these are very important mechanics for this deck because that keeps my head above water. He also gives 3-0 and trample and lifelink, so even if I just put it on Zozu and in a desperate attempt, I attack with it, you know, it's still going to give me some life and deal some damage. So, you know, like I said, it can be a desperation move, or it can be I just want to gain a lot of life or a little bit of life. Either way, it's a very, very key card in this. So now we're going to get into my lands. My land base, I have 37 lands, 30 of which are mountains. So we're not going to delve too long into this. It's very simple. Again, it's a for fun deck. I don't have a ton of fun, you know, badass, you know, value town cards in here. I just threw this together and you know what? It actually kind of worked, and it worked in a fun way. So I kept it and just rolled with it. So to each their own. Springjack Pasture puts out a token, puts out a goat. Everyone loves goats, right? Get that Perforos damage going. Care Keep puts out a creature. Urza's Factory puts out a creature. Ancient Tomb. Sometimes a very terrible card in this deck, but you know what? I love it. I run it in like everything because it's just a good land. It ramps me up so fast, but I'm telling you what, sometimes that 2 life is just like a swift kick in the balls every time you use it. Rogue's Passage, it's another one of those lands that I put in almost every EDH deck because it's just a good land. I mean, it's good in everything. Temple of the False God, same thing, it's just one of those commander staples. Gotta love it. Flamekin Village, the giving target creature haste is very fun. I've also used this politically as well, offering, hey, you play this creature, you play that creature, hey, you know what, I'm going to be nice, and I'm going to give you some haste, so have fun, go attack. So it also helps to draw the hate off of me. And this is 30 lands, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 30. 30 lands, they're all white border too. Nasty, stinking, smelly, atrocious white border lands. But you know what, at least they're the cool lands, they're got the little T symbol, so at least that much. But, we're not going to get into this whole mess. There's 37 lands total. So, everybody, Zozu the Punisher, he who punishes all.